So much for your time. I am Pius Kojo-Baka, and we're going to begin business from the palms because more oil marketing firms are reducing prices of petroleum products. And now Star Oil followed Goil this morning by dropping its prices into the 13 cedis range per meter mark. George Yaffe has more.
Star Oil is selling a litre of petrol at 13 Ghana cedis 65 pesos, representing 10 pesos reduction from the price it was selling the product some 2 weeks ago. Diesel, on the other hand, is going for 13 Ghana cedis 85 pesos per litre from the old price of 14 Ghana cedis 2 pesos. Joy Business is also learning that Star Oil is embarking on another strategy where in some parts of the country it has lowered its prices further from the one that it earlier announced this morning, in a move that the company has described as promotional prices. At some of these locations in the country, a litre of petrol is going for 13 Ghana cedis 31 pesos. Diesel is going for 13 Ghana cedis 57 pesos. Price quotes of Star Oil are far lower than the 14 Ghana cedis range the girl announced earlier this morning in a move that has been classified as price war between the top two oil marketing firms in the country. Market watchers are linking the reduction to a slowdown in the cedi's rate of depreciation against the dollar over the past 2 weeks, as well as the continuous drop in the prices of crude oil on the international market.
And I want us to go on Zoom and explore this angle further and speak to the Chief Executive or Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Consumers Petroleum Ghana, Duncan Amwa, for some quick analysis on that. Thanks so much, Duncan. Now, we have seen Star Oil consistently quote low prices. Do you think that as more OMCs grow, competition will tighten and, of course, floor prices may be at the levels that could bring some relief to consumers? Do you think so?
Pius, let me say good evening to you, to your viewers. What is happening currently is exactly what the consumer would have wished to see under the deregulated program. Fortunately, it's taking us a couple of years since we went into the deregulated pricing regime somewhere July 2015. So if you do the numbers, you are doing almost 9 years. Star Oil has been at this marketing for quite some time now, and we are not surprised that currently they are doing very well as the second largest by way of volumes locally. If you look at that strategy and the response from consumers, Pius, the indication you get is that consumers are indeed price sensitive, and indeed they would go for where they believe they get quality, where they believe they get value for money by way of prices. And so what we have seen over the months with Star Oil edging out the likes of Total, Shell onto the number 2 spot is indeed not surprising because, like I indicated earlier, consumers are indeed price sensitive and will choose where they believe they get the right quality at the right price. We will not be surprised if, but for the spread that Goil has currently, Star could have probably been competing with them neck to neck. But as I speak with you, Goil has done in excess of 400 the individual branches across the country. Star hasn't gotten to that number, so you don't expect that they will be able to compete neck to neck. But that notwithstanding, we had wished for this long ago, except that in the past, the top 3 OMCs, that as we used to call them, the big boys, were simply doing what you probably would call scheme or shadow pricing. So one price comes out, and then another comes out, and then all of them gravitate towards a similar, exact same pricing. That for us was not helping. Between Star and between 1 and 2 now, which is the bigger one, and then the second largest, you can see price differentiation. You can tell that between Star and Goil is quite a significant amount. Goil is still a little above 14. Star is in the 13s and still going down. So you can see that these are not companies that are doing shadow prices, that are probably, looking at each other and saying we are competing. And so wherever you set your price is where I gravitate. Star is able to compete this strongly because you have a situation where they have a lot of vertical resources at their disposal currently. And so whilst they load their own products, they do their transportation and sometimes own their own stations across, some of the OMCs do not have the benefit of those resources. And so if it was just down to resources, Star may still be able to compete anyway, any day, anyhow.
That's fair. So for the consumer, do you think that price will continue to be the name factor for choosing an OMC, or there may be other considerations?
Pius, what I know per the researches we did in the past, most Ghanaian consumers are indeed concerned about quality first, the safety of their engines or machines, and then the pricing wars also become something of concern to them. And so if you check even other OMCs whose prices, as I speak with you, may be lower than Star Oil and Goil, a lot more Ghanaians would continue to shy away from some of the OMC brands because of the perception that they wouldn't probably get the right quality and their engines may be at a certain risk, of breaking down. So for the number one concern as far as the consumer preference in Ghana is concerned, it's almost always been about the right quality, being served them. But when you move from that right quality parameter, you are also dealing with what they would now look at as the right prices or what is fair. And then the third most essential parameter being the right quantity. If I go to a station and say I'm buying 100 Ghana cedi worth of fuel, am I indeed being served 100 Ghana cedi worth? So you are dealing with, yes, quality, prices, you are dealing with quantity being served. But most of all of this is down to perception. And I think that Star Oil has done quite a yeoman's job, even on social media and again with, the traditional media. The way they engage their consumers over the period gives them some comfort or confidence that they indeed are operating an open book, and the consumer community is indeed, paying them now with whatever that they had invested by way of engaging their consumers as to what they are serving them. So quality, price, and then quantity for us is what has determined who is ranking higher or who is not.
Very well. Thank you so much, Duncan Amwa, Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana, speaking to us there. Interesting development on the downstream petroleum sector there. Meanwhile, energy strategist Dr. Yusuf Suleimana is attributing the reduction in the petroleum prices to the slow depreciation of the Ghana cedi. According to him, despite the gains, more work needs to be done to stabilize the cedi to prevent further impact on prices of petroleum products in the country. He spoke earlier on the marketplace.
We have to proceed with caution, but every single reduction we have to celebrate it. And for the fact that we are having this consistent reduction within the following windows, and that's a very good thing. So I'm saying we should proceed with caution because of the fact that I would have wished the cedi impact should have been felt. And you rightly pointed out that it is slow depreciation, not appreciation. If assuming the cedi was trading around 14, or 15, let's say, the impact would have been much more significant. However, the slow depreciation is what we also have to, commend, celebrate about, that at least we are not having that upward trajectory, but there's a slow in depreciation. 15 to 16 is still on the high side, on the cedi side. So yes, and then the Middle East also, like I mentioned, cool heads are coming to prevail. I think the powers that the powers that are available, on both sides are bringing the warring factions to stable mode. And I told you that there's no benefit. Nobody's going to benefit when this war escalates. So I think there's a lot of miscalculation that has happened, and I think it's not in the best interest of anybody, especially for US. They are coming elections also. They wouldn't like the gas price.
Away from the petroleum downstream sector, more than 600 businesses have finally been removed from the Register of Companies books ending June this year. Well, this is due to the failure of these firms to file their annual returns after several warnings. There is more in the following Business Desk report.
The 620 is the total number of all categories, businesses and enterprises that the Office of the Registrar of Companies has taken this action against. The registrar in a statement maintained that out of this number, 420 formally came forward that they will no longer do business, so they should be removed. But the registrar wants to put out these names to ensure that if these firms are indebted to anyone out there, the necessary payments will be done before dissolution. Some of the firms on the list include Unilever Investments and Unilever Foundation, security firms 4GS and shipping line Maersk Supply Service West Africa. The registrar also announced that another set of 8,000 businesses will be removed by the end of this month if they also fail to file their annual returns. Based on the action taken by the Registrar of Companies, firms that are removed from the list cannot do business in the country for the next 12 years unless it is directed by the law court to do so. The Registrar of Companies has put out the full list on its website for public scrutiny. Meanwhile, the registrar has also announced that it will start enforcing an administrative penalty of 1,000 Ghana cedis from October 1 for firms that fail to file their annual returns.
And I want to bring in the Registrar of Companies to explain to us what this very action they've taken is all about. Thanks so much, Madam Jemima Wari, and good to see you. First off, help us understand what it means for these 600 companies that have been removed from your books.
Thank you very much. Pius? Yes. It looks like the figure 620 is made up of different categories of firms that have been taken off the register. None business names. I need to emphasize that. None of them are business names. The first batch of 163 companies. These includes external companies and other companies who, for one reason or other, want to have a private liquidation because possibly they started off business, they don't really owe anybody, and they will get a private liquidator to wind them up. All these companies have been published in the company's bulletin. And I thought it's important for the public to know that these are companies that have been taken off our register so that you do not carry on business with such companies. These are not companies that have failed to file their annual returns. I need to emphasize that. So the 163 are companies that came forward. The shareholders and directors informed us that we either, for instance, external company like Maersk, they came to us and said, we want to close our business operations in Ghana. It doesn't mean Maersk is not operating outside this jurisdiction. They still are. It's possible to do that. But other companies like G4S and the rest, they voluntarily came and asked us to take their names off. Okay. Now, the other batch are the 457 companies. They are the companies that came forward after we published, given a deadline up to June 30th, asking for companies to come and file their annual returns. They came voluntarily and said, we are not interested in carrying on business. Take our names off the register. I've put these names out so that when we take it off, in case they have creditors out there, they do not continue to carry on business, their names are off the register, and they'll still, get debts piling up, and people will think that they are in business when they are not. So please go to our website, www.orc.gov.gh, check out all those names that we put at the 457. If for any reason they owe you or you owe them or whatever, let us know. Because if we take them off, that's it. For the next 12 years, it will take time for you to get it back on. The last set, 8,895, are still those that I gave an opportunity, for them to file their annual returns. They have been given up to the end of the year. But from October 1st, the penalty will go up from 650 to 1,000 each month. So that is what we've done. So the 163 are already off the register. They're already off the register.
All right, that's fine. So what was the next line of action for the Registrar of Company when it comes to these companies that have been removed?
Yes, so we will continue to clean the register. We will continue to do that. It doesn't mean that is the end of it. I am just putting it out there. Initially, you used to say that I'm just talking too much. and that I'm not really acting. Now we are bringing the ads down. It is not a delight to take companies off the register, but there's no point keeping a name on the register when they are not complying with the requirements under the act. So once we take it out from next year, we will continue to clean out all companies that are not carrying on business. And if by this notice more people want to get on the register, they should come and we'll take it off.
All right, so can anything be done against those who want to really come back, basically after they are done doing their homework well, to be given the opportunity to be on the register? Can they?
Okay, so between now and December 31st, this 8,895, they still have an opportunity to come and file their returns and file their financial statements and update us with the most current information on their companies. After December 31st, that option will go away.
Thank you so much, Madam Jemima Ware, for speaking to us on Business Life. We always appreciate your thoughts here with us. You're still watching Business Life. We are back with more. Please stay. Welcome back to Business Live, and we want to do something within the aviation industry because British carrier Virgin Atlantic Airlines has announced resumption of daily flight services on London, that's Heathrow, Accra, London route. Now, the airline in a statement today, however, noted that the services will actually start from May 1, 2025. More in this report.
The airline in a statement maintained that the return was influenced by growing number of persons wanting to visit their relatives in the UK and also offer the needed competition on the London-Accra-London route. The airline in a statement added that it also wants to tap into the growing business opportunities between the two countries. Virgin Atlantic in September 2013 announced the suspension of their operations on the London-Accra route after citing exceptionally high fuel price in Ghana and challenging economic environment at the time. However, one is not sure whether all these circumstances have improved, forcing them to resume services on the London-Accra-London route. Virgin Atlantic Airlines return may offer some competition to British Airways, which over the year has had some monopoly on that route. However, for some of the major concerns here, the time slot for Virgin Atlantic to fly from London Heathrow to Accra. This is because some had then argued that there was a major factor that affected their operations when they commenced services in 2010.
Aviation expert Sean Mendes just joined us via Zoom for some quick analysis on that. Thanks so much, Sean, for joining us on Business Live. Now, what do you make of this news, and can it be described as a good one for the industry, especially when it comes to passengers flying on that route?
Definitely, it is going to be a positive for the industry in general. If you look in terms of where the Ghana to UK market was pre-COVID, it was around 180,000 passengers a year. This year, it is going to cross 250,000 passengers. So about a 30 to 40% growth, since COVID to now. So it's definitely a route that is showing a lot of promise. As was noted, British Airways currently has a monopoly on non-stop flights. British Airways is putting around 300,000 seats a year into the market and is carrying about 190,000 of the 250,000 passengers a year. The remaining 60,000 are, connecting via Dubai or Doha or wherever else. So definitely we will see, British Airways is offering flights to both London Heathrow and London Gatwick. I think that we will probably see in the short term that there will be, some level of competition and a price war. But in the long term, I have my doubts as to whether this extra 190,000 seats that Virgin Atlantic is going to put into this market is going to be sustainable together with British Airways' 10 weekly flights.
Interestingly, one of the reasons cited by Virgin Atlantic, for example, following their exit in 2013 was high fuel prices and, of course, the challenging economic environment. Have all these things improved, for which reason we are seeing the decision they've taken?
Oh, definitely. I mean, Ghana had major issues in terms of being uncompetitive with fuel prices in the, the first part of the 21st century, I'd say all the way up to about 2015 or so. But government was able to restructure the taxation and royalties regime on fuel sold to airlines. And subsequently, Ghana has among the better fuel prices in the region. So definitely superior to places like Freetown, Sierra Leone, Monrovia, Liberia, and so forth, but not quite as attractive as, port cities like Lomé and so forth, which tend to have cheaper rate. So overall, it is not excessive. Significantly more competitive than it was at the time Virgin last operated, but still not the best in the region by any means.
All right, so the time that Virgin Atlantic is flying out of London and arriving in Accra, good for airline, you would say, because it was another development that many said worked against it when it started operations in 2010. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, the schedule that they're going to be using for this new operation is very similar to what they used in their first iteration. The flight will be leaving London at about 10:30 p.m., arriving in Accra at 5 in the morning, and then the return leaves Accra at 9 a.m. and arrives back in London at 5:40 p.m. So it's excellent for passengers who want to travel just between London and Accra, but the unfortunate flip side of that is if you want to connect onwards to the US, the only two markets where you can have connections on Virgin Atlantic are to New York JFK and to Boston. So it is limited largely to passengers who want to fly between Accra and London, but having the option of a daytime flight going north versus, having to fly overnight on British Airways, it's a matter of choice. Some consumers like it, some don't, and it's good to have that kind of option in the market for people who are looking to travel.
Sean Mendes, thanks so much for joining us on Business Live. We appreciate your time. You're still watching Business Live, and that's how we part company here on the program. For more business stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. See you at 8 p.m. with Prime Business.